I considered betraying my husband because I thought he was just playing around and wasting time, but in reality, he was taking on the role of both father and mother that I wasn't fulfilling. Before COVID, I, 39F, used to think I was the perfect example of a working mom who could do it all. My husband, 37M, on the other hand, seemed like a slightly better version of the stereotypical immature husband who spent more time playing video games than with me or our kids, a daughter, 11, and a son, 7. I work in corporate law, while he works in the pharmaceutical industry. When the pandemic hit, I was stuck at home, but he kept working since his field required it. Still, I maintain my usual office schedule, using my commute time to check on the kids, make sure they ate, and attended their online classes. I noticed John's efforts with the kids. He handled their schoolwork while playing video games and taking care of one of his only 2 household tasks, cooking. I had no idea how exhausting it is to cook 3 meals a day for 4 people. We rarely had intimacy, and when we did, I was always the one initiating. Even then, he'd sometimes just say he was tired. When we were intimate, I ended up doing all the work, or I'd lose interest because of his lack of enthusiasm and effort. Honestly, I considered leaving him or even having an affair several times. I was exhausted and felt like I was the only one putting effort into our family and relationship. Then, last month, John tested positive for COVID and had to quarantine in the basement for 2 weeks. I took time off work because I thought I'd have even more responsibilities and because it was a good excuse for a break. It turned out to be a great decision because I realized how involved John is in everything. He's a far more present parent than I am. He kept the kids happy and entertained the whole time. I never realized how hard that was. Cooking isn't as easy as it looks either. It's incredibly complex to plan and ensure everything's ready on time for 3 meals a day. I don't understand much about the kids' schoolwork anymore. It's been so long since I was in school, and it feels so irrelevant now that my husband eventually had to step in. Despite his condition, he managed to play with them over video calls. He's so creative. I never appreciated that before. He'd act out characters from a Disney TV show, with our daughter and son playing a platypus and a mad scientist. You probably know the show I'm talking about. He even gave them quirky tasks and treasure hunts to keep them entertained. If he hadn't been so involved, I would have had a mental breakdown dealing with 2 bored kids on top of everything else I was doing each day. I started reflecting on my role in my kids' lives. Sure, I know they're teachers, doctors, allergies, and that sort of thing, but that's the bare minimum. I realized my routine is incredibly selfish. We both work full-time, but I get home around 7 p.m. while he's back by 5. When I get home, I usually find him playing video games, and I go for a run. Then I come back, shower, and dinner's already ready, with our lunch bags packed in the fridge for the next day. After dinner, I watch my TV shows and go to bed around 11. If I initiate something and he's in the mood, we're intimate. Throughout the entire day, the only time I interact with the kids is at dinner. This realization shocked me. I don't even tuck them in or anything like that. In the morning, he's the one who wakes them up, gets them ready for school, and drops them off when classes are in person. He picks them up too. Meanwhile, I take my time getting up, eat the breakfast he's already prepared, and head to work. On weekends, I religiously go out with my friends on Saturday nights and have brunch on Sundays. He sometimes goes out with his friends on Fridays, but often stays home because I ask him to, either by complaining or starting arguments, because I feel neglected. After the self-assessment, I started observing my husband, hoping to find some flaw to prove he was as bad as I was because I couldn't stand the fact that I'd been so absent. But he's constantly playing and spending time with the kids. The hour of video games I used to think was selfish is literally the only hour of the day he has to himself. While I'm watching my shows, he's still playing with them. Sometimes they play Minecraft. I peeked at their world, and they've built massive structures. Other times, they play with action figures and dolls. He's so involved, it's like he's one of the kids. He does all this sitting on the floor right next to me and them. All those times I felt he wasn't showing me affection. He was actually rubbing my leg or resting his head on my knees while I was too focused on those silly reality shows to notice. No wonder he's always so exhausted by the end of the day. Last weekend, I decided to stay home instead of going out and watch them play a homemade version of Snakes and Ladders on Saturday night. On Sunday, after breakfast, they pulled out a huge box of old stuff to build their own command center for a spaceship and spent the next 2 hours role-playing. I never knew they did these things. I felt so left out and out of place because I wanted to be involved like John, but I just didn't know where I fit in. I don't think they'll ever be as connected to me as they are to him. I can only imagine how he's been handling all this in silence. I bet he enjoys it, but it must be exhausting too. I feel so jealous of him and angry at myself. I've been blaming him this whole time, while he's been the one truly taking care of the kids, and I've been living almost as if I didn't have any. How can I get better at this? They seem so happy together that I've been wondering, do they even need me? I feel like if I don't do something now, I'll lose my family. How much more can he sacrifice? I've already lost years with all 3 of them. Update 1. The truth is, I was terrified about how to even start, but the day after posting, I saw an opportunity with my kids and took it. I was working in my home office, and during my lunch break, I found them making paper airplanes while watching an online video. I decided to join in. As I helped them with the planes, I could sense their confusion. Usually, I only talk about school. When I first approached, they looked guilty, like they thought I was there to scold them for making noise or wasting time. It broke my heart that my kids saw me so negatively. I always thought I'd be the fun mom who hangs out with her kids, but now I see I'm far from that image I had of myself. I don't even think I can call myself a mother, not yet. We spent the afternoon making and racing paper airplanes, which gave me the idea to do origami with them. I used to love origami in college. So, when I went back to work, I ordered a stack of origami paper. The rest of the day was the same as usual, me working, my husband coming home, playing with the kids, and cooking dinner while I went for a run. After dinner, I still didn't know how to approach my husband, so we just stuck to our routine. At bedtime, I told my husband to relax and that I'd handle tucking the kids in. Surprisingly, my daughter was thrilled, but my son insisted only his dad could tuck him in. So we each took one kid. That hurt, but I guess I shouldn't expect them to accept me right away, considering I've been emotionally absent for so long. While tucking in my daughter, she told me how much fun she had making paper airplanes and quietly asked if we could do it again tomorrow. I enthusiastically said yes and stayed with her until she fell asleep. When I came out, my husband was already in bed with his phone, looking exhausted. We didn't talk much. I just changed and got into bed. Normally, I'd be finishing my shows, but that night I went to bed early. I was hoping for some kind of reaction from him, but he didn't say anything. I was about to bring up everything I mentioned in my post, but I chickened out and just fell asleep. I don't even know how to start talking to him about this. I thought about showing him my post, but I can't. I mentioned how I considered having an affair because I felt my needs weren't being met, and I can't let John know how close I came to ruining everything. He was cheated on by an ex before, and it destroyed him for 1.5 years. I don't want him to think there's anything to worry about, because there isn't. At the same time, it's almost impossible to talk to him because I can't even face him or look him in the eye and admit I've been blaming him for my own failures for so long, letting resentment build up. How do you even start a conversation like that? So, For the past 5 days, I've been doing origami with the kids during lunch and tucking my daughter in at night, though I try to do both kids when I can. I've also been waking up early for breakfast and cutting back on my running time to sit with the kids while they do homework. I've tried helping my husband with cooking, but he gently brushes me off because he has his own system and doesn't want it disrupted. I've also been responding to his affection after dinner when they play Minecraft while I watch TV. When he rubs my calf or rests his head on my knees, I gently play with his hair. I know he loves being petted. I used to do it all the time when we were dating. He was a bit surprised at first, but now he smiles every time I do it. Our nights haven't changed. We're just in bed with our phones, and he looks exhausted. I know I can't make real change until I talk to him, but it's so hard. I know what I need to do, but I just can't because it feels terrifying. How do people do this? That's what's been happening so far. I plan to talk to my in-laws about this, since they've always treated me like a daughter from day one, and I hope they can help me figure out how to talk to my husband. It used to be so easy to talk to John about anything, and he always had the best answers. How did I become this person who can't even talk to the kindest, most understanding man I've ever met? I wish he could read my mind, give me that heart-melting smile, hug me, tell me everything's going to be okay, and never let go. Update 2. It's been a while since my last post, and a lot has happened, including something recent that reminded me of this account. Let's start from the beginning. I recently realized I was, and still am, to some extent, a terrible partner and wife who's been disconnected for at least the last 4 years. I came here seeking help, and I've been trying to improve. The week after my original post, I made an effort to engage more with the kids, and I was getting along well with my son, but my daughter was still hesitant, and my husband was oblivious to my revelations and efforts. I was too scared to talk to him about these things, and no matter how much I prepared, I always chickened out. I'll get to that later. The day after my first update, my husband came to me after work, looking miserable. Apparently, he'd been given so much work that he wouldn't be able to spend time with us in the near future, and he asked for my help with the kids. Honestly, it felt like he wasn't asking his partner for help, but begging a stranger for any assistance. That hurt so much. Seeing him like that and recognizing another opportunity to be the partner and mother they deserve, I jumped in immediately. I made sure to tell him he didn't have to ask for help like that these are my kids too, and he's my husband, and I do everything I could to support him. The look of pure relief and happiness on his face will be etched in my memory forever. How bad must I have been for him to find so much joy in me simply doing the bare minimum? For a few weeks, I became the primary caregiver for the kids. He still helped with homework, since I couldn't help much. I tried taking over for a few days, but it took us 3 times as long to finish because I had to look things up for my daughter, and we ended up past the kids' bedtime. So instead, I decided to handle dinner, but my husband stepped in and ordered takeout. Apparently, the reason he's been cooking our entire relationship is that I'm a terrible cook, and he didn't want me to know. What does he see in me? I can't cook, I can't help with homework, I can't be an involved mother or partner. At that moment, I felt so defeated that I must have shown it physically because he gave me a hug from behind, smiled, and told me he loved me. I didn't let that stop me, though. If I couldn't help in those areas, I decided there were other things I could do. I made it my mission to know everything about my kids and help or entertain them however I could. So, every day after work, instead of going for a run, I took my daughter for a walk while my son rode his bike around the block. Since the days are longer now, I thought it'd be a fun activity. During that time, I learned that my daughter wants to be a scientist like her dad. She loves an ice cream shop at a nearby mall that only has a few flavors but tastes amazing. She wants to learn Korean, My husband has been teaching her basic Korean for months to impress my family. I didn't know this. Another failure on my part, so he could speak to my parents in their native language. She loves K-pop, and her favorite group is Mamamoo. She seems to have my taste in music, and she wants to learn how to do her hair. Since then, I've been speaking to them in Korean, my native language, during our walks and helping my daughter with the Korean workbooks my husband got her. Surprisingly, she's picked it up quickly, and it's inspired my son to learn too. Every night, I tuck both kids in, and when I go to bed, my husband waits for me to tell him about my day. After so long, we've finally been intimate again, and it's been amazing. The role-playing games I used to do with her dad on weekends still happen, but he's asked me to step in sometimes, so he can work. My kids are incredible at creating scenarios and improvising on the fly. Clearly, they got that from my husband. Despite all his great qualities, I know he's an excellent storyteller and can lie so naturally you'd never suspect him. Honestly, it scared me the first time I saw him do it, but he's been completely honest with me throughout our relationship because he hates lying. During these games, I still feel a bit out of place, but my kids don't notice. I'm not as good as their dad, but I think I can hold my own by now. I've tried improvising with them or coming up with scenarios, and while they love it, I say some of the cheesiest, most ridiculous lines and ideas you've ever heard, and I can clearly hear my husband stifling laughter when he overhears. This brings us to yesterday morning. My daughter wanted to play Mario Kart with my husband, but he said he was a bit busy, though he could watch, and suggested she ask me. I'd never played the game, but I said yes. Suddenly, I could see the gears turning in my husband's head. He said we should play after lunch. After lunch, he came out with a cardboard box with slots and empty soda cans taped to the back. The rules were that we had to drive the car like a real car, press the accelerator to move forward, hit the brakes to drift. We used the switch steering wheels to play. My son had to watch our feet and the game to ensure we follow the rules, with a 3-second penalty for each mistake. It was so much fun! We played for hours, but let me tell you, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I can honestly say my husband and son made us hate them for making us play like that. It was tough, but it was worth it because afterward, my daughter asked if we could play like that every weekend. Let me tell you, that made me feel like I just accomplished something incredible. Still, I could sense the hesitation and desperation behind her request. She's still guarded and I don't blame her. I've been a bad mom. After putting the kids to bed, my husband confessed something. After I wrote my last update, I forgot to log out, and my husband, an avid Reddit user, found the account and read everything. These past weeks, he's been testing whether I'd follow through on the epiphanies I had or if I'd give up halfway. He hasn't had extra work. He's just been playing on his laptop while monitoring my actions to see if I meant what I said in my posts. He told me he's willing to work on fixing things and that he loves me, but he doesn't fully trust me yet. He said he's been alone in this relationship for a long time, and these weeks of having an active partner have been more liberating than he expected. He made it clear that while he was content with how things were to some extent, he was considering separating because it all felt like a burden. He was acting every time he came home, always smiling, laughing, and tending to everyone's needs. He wants to go to counseling to fix this, and made it clear that if he ever feels things reverting to how they were, he'll leave. He said that after experiencing these past weeks, he refuses to go back to that situation. I guess I came around just in time. This is literally my last chance to fix my relationships. I'm glad I woke up from my mistakes in time because I could have lost this incredible man forever. I know for a fact that if he'd asked for a divorce a few months ago, I would have laughed in his face and made a huge scene, too wrapped up in my own issues to even notice. Thank you all for listening and advising me. I even accept the hate because I deserve far worse. I hope I can fix this because if he leaves me, I'll have no one to blame but myself.